talk about this game, man. And we'll start with the defense. We'll start with your man. I'm interested to hear what you got to say.
Well,
what are you
yeah,
watching for, right? What challenges does Kansas's offense present for OU's defense?
all of them. They present all of the challenges. You're going to have what we've struggled with, and that's a running quarterback. And, I don't think Daniels is playing. I think that's pretty clear that he's not going to play in this game. Whether or not he returns this season, I guess, is a little less clear.
Yeah,
But
that was an interesting little back and forth on Twitter. Like, oh, really? That's news to me.
yeah, that was interesting. So, but Jason Bean, who I expect us to get, he's an excellent runner. He is incredibly fast. Maybe not as shifty as Daniels, but straight line speed, is an absolute burner. He's a playmaker. He can make throws on the run. He's a good, solid quarterback. We got to see him last year. This is triple option. This is modern triple option football is what it is. And they are really good, really efficient at it. Everything in their offense is built around the run. And, that's something that we've really struggled with. If you cannot eliminate the run against this team, it is going to be a long, long day. And they're going to give it to you a bunch of different ways. Like, to me, like the run, the actual running plays are not my concern. My concern is the movement before the snap that they give you that you have to adjust to. They're gonna hit you, like, just kind of how the triple option has always been intended, right? They're going to stress you right up the middle, and then they're going to stress you horizontally. And Kansas does that, and they start it pre-snap with motioning guys across the football, arc motions, and they're doing it with speed and efficiency. And everything that they have has like the bubble built off of it that is essentially your pitch man. And it's smooth, it's fast, it's efficient. They've got great play action built off of it. Their offensive line has just really come a long, long way. And they do a good job of highlighting some of their skill players and using them in creative ways. It's a unique and really impressive offense.
It's fun to watch. It's different
because
they have all of that stuff, and then they'll just fling it downfield in the passing game, and you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And they've got, Luke Grimm, the guy in the slot, has been really good for them. But then Skinner and Arnold, big-bodied guys, like long, athletic guys at wide receiver for the Jayhawks, and they've had so much success running it that a lot of that like power pass stuff that they do in the throw game has been, it's been really, really good. And Jason Bean is coming off a game where he comes in that TCU game when Daniels goes down. Yeah, I don't know, just a couple of the nicest throws I've ever seen from a quarterback. So
really impressive. He's got great touch, got a good strong arm.
And he's started a bunch of games. He's an experienced guy. He's a senior, right? He is, he almost beat OU last year. He is not going to come into Norman, wide-eyed. He's going to be confident. And it's up to Oklahoma to slow down that running game. Devin Neal, I think, is a really, really solid back. And this is the reality of it. OU has been not bad, not awful, but what I would like to call atrocious against the run in conference play. Giving up 310 yards a game rushing in the 3 conference games. That's 100 yards worse than 9th. That's 205 yards worse than 1st. Kansas is the number 1 rushing defense in conference games only, giving up 105 yards a game. So to say that Kansas is going to come in here and think they can run the rock, even with their backup quarterback, they probably feel even better about running the ball because Bean can absolutely fly and stretch it even more horizontally, like you're saying, Ted.
Yeah.
I think that's the key to the game. Like you gotta slow down the run game. Like you absolutely have to. If you don't, Kansas will go up and down the field on this defense.
Yeah. This is one of those games where just because of where we are defensively, we're not going to stop everything. So you better stop the run first, and put it on his arm, which, as we said, he is still a capable thrower. So it's not like you've got a bad quarterback sitting back there in the pocket, but we have to be able to stop the run on early downs. I've said this, all season, and we all have, but we have to be so much better on first and second down. Kansas is going to be super aggressive. They're going to go for it on a bunch of fourth downs. And if they're in 3rd and 4 or less all day long, it's going to be miserable for us. You have to get stops on early downs, and I'm anxious to see how they do it. Like, I don't know if this is going to be a 4-man front game. It wouldn't shock me if it was, because Venables is going to be multiple in what he does. So it wouldn't shock me if we saw some 4-man front out there, but whatever it is, the run fits have to be dialed in.
If they come out in the 4-man front and play well, this fan base is going to melt down. They are. Like, even though the way that BV and that defensive staff do it, they look at what the other team does and they decide, okay, what front gives us the best chance to win the game? Like, it's that simple. Like, what are we going to major in that gives us the best chance to win the game against what they do offensively? And we've seen the last 3 weeks when it has gone very, very poorly, right? They've done a lot of the three-man front stuff. Like, even Kansas State, where it was technically 4 guys, it was still like that odd structure.
Yeah.
If they come out in a 4-man even front and play really, really well, I hope that happens. Like, I'm hoping that happens, but the fans are going to be like, why haven't we done that the entire time? You know exactly how that's going to go if they come out and play that way and play well.
Yeah. What if they come out and play that way and don't play well?
Oh no, don't say that.
I
can't take another horrific defensive performance. I can't get on here on Sunday and look at the look on your face again. Like, it hurts me that you're in so much pain.
I don't care what they do. I just want them to be sound.
Yeah.
And I know there's a ton of talk about the 3-man front and the 4-man front. And I put it this way. I'm obviously biased. I played in a 4-man front pretty much my whole life. And like, that's what I prefer. I like what I see. I mean, it all is, it's very even and balanced. And to me, it suits the eye so much better. But if I was to be pressed on it, I would say that in college football, given the offenses that most people run, I think the best way to defend it is a 3-man front. But it's more complicated. It requires more specialized players. And, I think it is it's just much more complicated machine, but it gives you a better ability to defend a wider range of things that people attack you with in the modern era. And I think ultimately what you have to do to be the best defense, to be a truly elite defense, is you have to be able to do both at a very high level. And that is what Venables is implementing, and that's what he's shooting for. And it will take some time for them to get there.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Anything else? Anything else when it comes to OU's defense versus Kansas's offense?
Just don't get, well, I was going to say, don't get enamored with all the motion stuff, but you have to be able to adjust to it. Like that's the thing is being able to adjust because, when you're watching a game on television or you're there and you see a guy motion across the formation, it's this thing that we're just used to. We just see it, right? And it happens, and all right, no big deal. They got a guy in motion. Well, it is a big deal for the defense. It changes the entire structure whenever a guy goes from one side of the formation to the other. It can change all of everyone's drops. It can change all of the run fits. So you have to be tuned in and anticipate the motion. You have to know what's coming, and be able to adjust to it on the fly. That's going to be the most critical aspect.
And one thing that they do, which is, I mean, it's not uncommon, but we've seen this defense have enough issues with just a guy going from one side to the other. They motion a guy into the backfield in what I call they'll motion him and he'll go the opposite way, or he'll do what I call yo-yo motion. Mm-hmm. He'll go be in the backfield. He'll come back where he came from.
Yep.
So you have to, especially the safeties, right? And I don't think Billy Bowman's close to being back really. So we're going to have some guys, like the guys that have been out there are going to be out there, man. Like they got to play better, bottom line. But those guys have to communicate what happens if he goes across the field, what happens if he comes back, because all the responsibilities change depending on that. So it's not easy. One other thing, the defensive ends, they are going to be unblocked quite a bit in this football game. They're going to be influence blocked. Do not freeze. Know what you're supposed to do in those situations, edge players. Know what your responsibility is. It is a weird sensation going forward and having no one touching you as a defensive lineman. But do not panic. Know what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, and that's really a dangerous element for us, because I've complained all year long about our guys flying up the field whenever they're unblocked.
Correct.
And that's a good thing to point out, because especially with Jalen Daniels when he's in there, but even Jason Bean, you better stay flat on the line of scrimmage and you better stay square, because if you start flying up the field or if you start turning your shoulders and chasing, you are in a world of pain.
Yeah. All right. OU's offense against Kansas's defense, some things to watch for. Now, first and foremost, Ted, you're a 4-down guy. May I interest you in Kansas's defense? I mean, you're talking old school 4-3 cover 4, man. I mean, they play some cover 1, some cover 3, but this is a 4-3 cover 4. Play it pretty simple, not a ton of pressure. Like they just line up and play, and they play hard and they play with great effort.
Which is interesting, kind of talking about the Venables still, about like he could change some things up and perhaps make things a little bit easier or whatever. But like if you remember back, and I'm trying to remember when they said this, and it may have been before our game, but remember they were talking about they're just going to do what they do, and they're going to stay in it. They aren't going to veer away from that at all. And it was rough, but here they are a year later, and guess what? They're playing good, solid defense, and with they're not nearly as talented on defense as they are on offense, but they're sound.
OU fans, we have hope for next year. We can make the improvement we've seen in Kansas.
We could be Kansas.
Oh gosh, don't say that. Okay, so, and I think this is really, really important. You got to start fast offensively, man. You got to go score on your first drive. You got to take the ball and go score. I mean, you need some positivity. And I mean, this team desperately needs it. This fan base desperately needs it. They have not led in a football game since Nebraska. They may not even remember what it feels like to be in the lead. It's got to change, man. And you got to get some momentum going in the stadium. That's the sideline, that's in the stands. Like, start fast. None of this 3-and-out, 4-and-out bullshit to start the game. You
Yep.
got to go. Has to happen, Ted. Absolutely has to happen.
No doubt. That would go a long way, I think, for everyone's confidence in the game, offensively, defensively, the fan base for sure, to get off to a good, quick start. Like, you don't have to do anything special, just, and I'm actually encouraged by our running game. I think we should be able to run the ball really well.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned that. It's a cover 4 team, right? So, Ted, when an offense looks up and they see 2 safeties deep, whether that's cover 2 or cover 4, what must they do?
You got to make them pay. You got to run the football, get them out of it.
You got to run the football and make them get out of the cover 4 stuff. And the GT counter stuff has been good. The Wildcat stuff, I would expect some of that to carry over. There was some really good stuff from the Texas game. And then this is just the truth. Like, as an offensive lineman, I always preferred blocking a 4-man front. Now, it had a lot to do with me being a center and me being uncovered, and I could really come off the football. But one thing a 4-man front does, I've always believed, is that it creates better angles in the zone running game. It just does naturally. You can come off the football, the combinations and where you're heading to the backers. It's just clear. It's a clearer picture. So you have to run the ball. I expect to see a mix of all of that from Jeff Lebby, but I do not think the interior of their defensive line is that stout. It's certainly nowhere close to what Texas was. But man, you got to get some movement at the line of scrimmage. I know they're better. It's still Kansas, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's still Kansas. I mean, they're undersized at the line of scrimmage. You have to beat them up. Like, you have to match the physicality, match the effort, and move some guys, man. I mean, that bottom line, that's what you got to do if you're Oklahoma's offense.
No, I totally agree. Let me ask you this. How much of the Wildcat stuff from Texas do you think we see, whether it's Braden Willis or the direct snap to the running backs?
I don't know. Like, I don't know, to put a snap number on it, but I really liked some of the Eric Gray stuff. I mean, there are some gaping holes in that. And I know that now Kansas has seen it, right? They may not give you as light of a box and some of that stuff as Texas did, but make them prove they can stop it, right? I mean, you're getting +1 in the running game with that stuff. Make them prove you can stop it. And if they do, okay, you get back to some more of your traditional run game. But I don't know, 5 snaps of it. I mean, that's a lot when you think about, wow, they're going to go 5 Wildcat snaps. Now, I know that they majored in it last game, so maybe it doesn't seem like that many, but I don't know. What do you think? How much? I would like to see some of it down kind of in the red area as well, like red zone, nice little change up, and you can do it without subbing, which is nice.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was really good. I think even some out of the Braden Willis package, hitting it with some of the perimeter stuff with Farouk. I just think that it's an easy package to build on.
Yeah.
And, for a defense, it creates a ton of problems, and it's not as easy as just, you don't line up to that the exact same way that you line up to a traditional offense, just because, without a doubt, you're getting the extra blocker. So you're going to be down in the numbers. So you have to play some things differently. Just, you don't have to do a whole bunch of it, but if you're just to show that you're going to continue to do it, like it puts the rest of the teams that you're going to play in the future on notice, and they have to come develop some type of plan for it and devote practice time to it. And for you, it's super easy to install.
Yeah. And now that you've put, a couple of those plays that you ran multiple times on tape, maybe you build some stuff off of it, right? Maybe you build some wrinkles where you're pushing it down the field and the throw game off some of that stuff. I don't know which one of these guys can throw it, but we'll see. I don't know if we'll see any of that, but you can build stuff and kind of break some tendencies. They only have one game of looking at it. So when you line up in it, the alarm bells are going to be going off and they're going to say, hey, it's either this or that. Well, if you don't run this or that, then you may find yourself with a big play. Okay. You got to get Marvin Mims to football. And the guy, he's talented. He's playing fast. He's playing well. I don't care how you do it. After what he had to go through in the Texas game, get the man the ball.
Yep.
And it's not just because he's a dynamic wide receiver. I just think that we've talked a lot about, guys that do everything the right way and rewarding those guys. Like, you have to reward Marvin Mims. And I know that Levy wants to get him the ball, right? He's got to go to that feed the stud area of that play sheet, and he's got to go to it a little more than he has been. You got to get this guy some targets, man. You have to.
Well, I mean, that's something that we really haven't even touched on yet, but having Dylan Gabriel back in the football game is going to be a good thing for Marvin Mims. Just absolutely had no downfield
understatement of the century.
Right. So yeah, I do expect that. I think that, if we can build the run really good and have some success there, which I think we will, I think ultimately we're going to be able to open some things up. And I totally agree. Have to find a way to get him involved in the offense. Like, however that is, easy throws, deep balls, like, he needs to become a part of what's going on a little bit more. And I know that obviously they know that, and they want that to be the fact as well. It's just been difficult, impossible without Dylan Gabriel at the helm.
Yeah. So obviously, yeah, having DG back is going to be very, very important. And hopefully little time off allowed him a nice reset, and we don't see some of the inaccurate throws we saw leading up, right, to his injury. So, we'll see. But a couple other things, and this popped into my head because of some of the stuff that Sark did against us last week. They picked on a corner because they didn't think he could tackle. Okay. I think we should do the same with Kobe Bryant, number 2. Now, the guy can cover. He's long. He's athletic. He's got an awesome nickname, the Jayhawk Mamba. That's awesome. But, Ted, when I see a corner like that, let's see if he wants to tackle. Let's get him in the run fit, whether that's formationally, some crack replace stuff. Like, let's make him tackle one-on-one in space. This is a guy that wants to cover. He wants to be the guy that he's got all kinds of different variations of the incomplete signal. I mean, he's got his go-tos, but he wants to cover. Does he want to tackle? So let's get him in some situations. Let's see if number 2 wants to tackle a little bit. See if he wants to get down in the mud.
Yeah, I like that. It's one of the easiest ways to try and generate some offense is to force the corners into the run fit, and either force them into like having to tackle, like you said, in space, or having to fit up on an offensive lineman who's coming up to the next level. Right. And that is not the style of football game that most corners want to play. And you can open up some big things that way. And typically what you see is what you get early on. Like, if you have like a different style of running play or a new blocking scheme on the inside, typically the linebackers and safeties they're going to start to play it differently. They'll start to, be more physical on the blockers, and they'll figure it out. Corners, what you see is what you get. How they play it the first time is how they're going to play it the second, 10th, 25th time. It's going to be the exact same. And a lot of time it's backpedaling.
Yeah. So let's see if number 2 wants to tackle. Another important thing, Anton Harrison, Wanya Morris. I know they're both playing banged up. Got to play well. Lonnie Phelps, 47, and Malcolm Lee, 99 for Kansas. Man, those are 2 active guys off the edge. And they play hard and physical. They got good get-offs. And we talked a little bit about last week. Now, there was no passing game to speak of, last week, but with Dylan Gabriel back, the interior of OU's offensive line, they have to be solid, right? They have to keep good integrity when it comes to the depth of the pocket, because Phelps and Lee are going to be flying up the field trying to run the hoop. And that pocket, the depth has to be good so that Dylan Gabriel can step up a little bit and be comfortable. And we haven't seen him do a ton of that this year, but with the way these guys rush, with their get-offs, like, he's going to have to do some of that in this game. So, yeah, I think that the way that Anton and Wanya, not only in the run game, but especially in pass protection, with how 47 and 99 come flying off the football, they have to play well, man, or DG's going to get sacked a couple times. Like, these guys are, you can see it on tape, man. They can rush the passer a little bit.
Yeah. Yep. Aggressive in their front, and they have some production there. I'm not sure how good they are against the run on the edge, but they definitely get off the ball and could get around the corner pretty well. What is it? Is it Phelps that's got 6 sacks?
Yeah. It's kind of the shorter, stockier, loves the rip move, can win with speed, can win with power. Lee's a good looking to, like, 6'5". He looks apart. So, yeah, I mean, you're going to have to win those battles on the edge.
Yep. Yeah. And, I wish that we could attack them in like some screens and different things whenever you have DNs that are flying off the rock like that. But we have not shown that we can complete the little running back screen off the edge yet. We've run it like 6 times and it's been batted down every single time. So maybe
here's the hoping Saturday's the day, man. One last thing, and you talk about this a lot with OU's linebackers. KU's linebackers get just an absurd amount of depth in their zone drops. I mean, guys flying back there, getting into their zones. So I do think there are going to be some opportunities, especially in the middle of the field, with that like 5 to 8 yard range, right? Guys catching the ball there. And if you can make a guy or two miss, right, you can have some big plays. But whether it's Braden Willis, running backs coming out of the backfield, there's a large void right there underneath, because my goodness, they just fly back in zone coverage.
Yeah. Well, that could be a good thing defensively. It can be a bad thing if you're getting too far away from, like, you got check downs and other things underneath. And, we've seen Eric Gray has been pretty good in some of the check down game where, he can catch it, turn, get upfield, make a guy miss and go get a first down. So yeah, but that's something to watch for Dylan Gabriel. I think there's been times where he's locked onto a guy and he's going there with the football no matter what. And some of those backers coming underneath on some of those deep digs and stuff can be dangerous.
Yeah.